The best revenge is living well and also a little bit of gloating, which is, I am sure, what we are going to see out of Jimmy Kimmel's monologue tomorrow. Because his show is back on the air, it does not matter what the bully Donald Trump tried to do. Our bullying, our boycott, our voices were that much louder. And so Jimmy Kimmel is back on the air, and not only is Donald Trump furious and all of MAGA, but so is Jesse Waters, who threw himself a little on-air temper tantrum after his dear leader was defeated. We are gonna get into it, but before we do, if I could quickly ask you to leave a like on this video, and if you have not already and you enjoy our channel, to hit that subscribe button because it goes a long way in supporting our work. Now before we get into Jesse's response to this beautiful breaking news, I wanna start with Jessica Tarlow's important response when we initially saw Jimmy Kimmel removed from the air, because we need to hear a little bit of a snatchy coming out of the Fox propaganda outlet.
Everyone, all the editorial boards of the nation's biggest paper, including the Wall Street Journal, that wrote Mr. Kimmel's words were only moderately offensive. We want to be clear that none of this justifies the right's resort to regulatory censorship. And the premise that Democrats are more concerned about Jimmy Kimmel than they were about the tragic assassination of Charlie Kirk is completely unfounded. Democrats said all the right things that all of us felt about, that it was tragic, that violence, political violence, has no place in our society. And we were met with, this is your fault, and we are at war. There's been this move today to rewrite the story of how Jimmy Kimmel ended up being indefinitely suspended, to absolve Brendan Carr of his role in this and the government's larger role in it. But the timeline just doesn't add up. I've heard, well, read the Hollywood Reporter and read the Wall Street Journal on this. I looked through all of it, and the common denominator is that Brendan Carr said to Benny Johnson, we can do this the easy way or we can do this the hard way. And the affiliates, who were already freaking out about it for sure, decided then that they were going to pull it. And so ABC and Disney in general, Bob Iger, had no choice but to do it. There are some smart Republicans that are cautioning them to come back from this line. Ted Cruz, of all people, who's the chair of the Commerce Committee, which actually has oversight over the FCC, said what Carr said there is dangerous as hell. That's right out of a mafioso. When it's used to silence conservatives, we will regret it. We should denounce it. So I understand now we don't live in cancel culture. It's just consequence culture. And you think an eye for an eye is a good solution to everything. That's what I've seen pelted at me about this. Well, you did this, you did this, you did this, you did this. That is not a way to run a free society. And you can't just trample on the First Amendment because something tragic.
I talked about this when we first heard the news that Donald Trump was sending his guns to pressure Bob Iger, who had a little chicken shit moment and allowed himself to fold that the narrative that the right was presenting was that Jimmy Kimmel was removed from the air because he said something insensitive about Charlie Kirk. Now we know that was never the case, but if their argument was that public pressure would result in Jimmy Kimmel being removed from the air because of Charlie Kirk, then public pressure in the other direction would get him back on, and it did. But this was never an outrage from the audience. This was Donald Trump, which is the reason why this clip from Araik Swalwell, before we get into Jesse Waters, matters so much to me.
Republicans spoke out against government censorship. And if that's the case, I will go back and revisit whether I could have been louder. But that does not mean that today Republicans are silent just in an effort to own the libs. If you didn't like cancel culture when you thought it was happening in prior administrations, you certainly can't look at what just happened in our country and accept that that is something we should live with and we should tolerate. So I want to make it clear, there's going to be a Democratic majority in just over a year. And to the FCC chairperson and anyone involved in these dirty deals, get a lawyer and save your records, because you're going to be in this room and you're going to be answering questions about the deals that you struck.
Intimidate them, not just the executive at ABC. At Disney, intimidate Republicans. Tell them what's coming. Govern with a vengeance when you retake this majority. Democrats govern with a vengeance, cause it will be rightful and justified vengeance. We want justice. We want to fix what they have broken and hold them accountable, so that they know we are not fucking around any longer. And no one should know that better than the Fox propaganda outlet legally. Which is why Jesse Waters, in a moment of cope, said this.
Why he is coming back? He will probably read something that the lawyers wrote for him and act trite for a second. Some of us have been there. and then he will carry on and be the exact same Jimmy Kimmel that we're used to.
You think Jimmy Kimmel is gonna have to read a statement for what? Jimmy Kimmel did not lose a $787 million lawsuit just with the Dominion voting system because he was lying about the 2020 election. Jimmy Kimmel did not lie. Jimmy Kimmel was removed from the air because Donald Trump is a little baby. He is a little crybaby. And Bob Leisure for a couple days. There was his bitch. But then he saw that stock prices start ticking down billions of dollars in market cap all because of us evaporate go off into thin air. And he realized, I think I had rather pick a fight with Donald Trump than with us the people fighting back the resistance. And I do not know what could be more inspiring or energizing than that to see the power that we have to fight back against this administration, which by the way wants you to think that they do win all these legal battles. Do you know how many times Donald Trump has been injuncted? Caroline Love, it screams about it all the time. He's had his plan stopped, thwarted, upended. Do you know how many lawsuits, frivolous lawsuits he's lost? The Republican Party used to be, we are gonna be small government. Now the government is taking over everything, including the late night that you watch. They used to say, oh, we hate the little petty litigation. Now that's all that Donald Trump does is so and so and so. They are hypocrites. Let's call them out and let's point out the fact that they are not invitable. That is what Donald Trump wants us to think. Donald Trump did not show up to the Disney corporate office and say, I am ready to push this red button, right? And unless you take Kimmel off the air or whipping this whole place out. No, Donald Trump's FCC commissioner allowed it to the fact that it was easy way or hard way. That was the threat he made to Disney. But they did not action anything, right? There was no actual crackdown, they capitulated in advance. They did not wanna have the fight. That's what we cannot allow to happen. You need to have the fight. When we saw the ABC settlement with Donald Trump, it was not cause they lost. They settled because they wanted it to be over. I think the era of over is over. I think the era of anticipatory capitulation is done. For all of the fight well we had. This guy is a loser. He lost at business. God, I wish he lost last year. He did lose 5 years ago and quite badly. He lost so badly. What a big loser. But this guy loses. I know he won 2 elections. I know, and for that, our country is much, much worse. But he is at his core a loser. And he knows it. He knows it. So let's have all these fights. Let's go out there and battle. If he's gonna keep shipping out the lawsuits, lie up, fight him like Jamie Crockett is.
People as relates to the First Amendment, because he has filed not 1 lawsuit, not 2 lawsuits, but he has filed numerous lawsuits. He filed a lawsuit against the New York Times. He filed one against the Wall Street Journal, against CBS, against ABC, against the Des Moines Register. He is doing all of this because he wants to quash any speech that is not appreciative or lauding him, which is pretty much anything that's factual. So let's talk a few facts about these January 6 felons that should still be incarcerated because they went through the process, but because they were doing things on his behalf, of course, he wanted to let them go. So they released more than 1,000 people who participated in the insurrection on this government, many of whom had previous criminal records, like Mr. Theodore Mendenforth, who was convicted of predatory criminal sexual assault of a child, or Mr. Peter Schwartz, who had 38 prior convictions, including one where he beat his wife by repeatedly punching and biting her. Trump also pardoned Mr. David Daniel, who was convicted of production and possession of child pornography. Trump also pardoned Mr. Daniel Ball, who, quote, threw an explosive device that detonated upon at least 25 officers during the Capitol riot. He also had a record for, quote, domestic violence by strangulation. I'm not done. Trump also pardoned Mr. Andrew Taki, who sent nudes to an undercover law enforcement officer who was posing as a 15-year-old girl. Mr. Casey Hopkins also received a pardon from Trump, and Mr. Hopkins was convicted of forcible rape. According to court records, he, quote, had forcible intercourse with the victim, choked her to the point of impairing her vision, banged her head into a wall, and urinated into the victim's mouth as he humiliated her. These these are the people that he decided to release in the streets of DC. So if anybody does need to clean up DC, I would agree it is this man, because he is the one that is causing half the crime that we have. Not only is he participating in the crime, but we know that he instigated the insurrection. And if I did say that I had one issue with the Biden-Harris administration, it is the fact that they did not move forward and make sure that this man was put where he should have been put. Because the last time I checked as a criminal defense attorney, and Mr. Attorney General, you may have a different experience, but I never had a defendant that had 34 convictions for felonies and did not spend one day in jail. Never in my life. And the last time I checked, the party of law and order is the only one that decided that they would be out of order and decided to nominate someone who was not only indicted but was actually convicted of multiple felonies. That has never happened in this country, and it is a shame that we are dealing with it now. And now he wants to tell y'all.
If he wants to go after your speech, your right to call out this bullshit fascist administration. They wanna say that fascist no is a slur. It's hate crime. It's a word we cannot use. It's a nanny. No, it's not. It's these people being so damn soft. They are snowflakes. They cannot hang. They cannot handle it. They hate it. They hate it when we antagonize them. Is not that all the encouragement you need to do it more? To have ketchup all over the walls of the White House. That's what I wanna do. We can actually fight these people. We can win. We did today. Let's win on the big shit. Let's keep it going. Let's keep talking about it. I promise you, I am going to be on this show. And if you want to support that, as always, you can hit that subscribe button, leave a like on this video, drop a blue heart in the comments, and until next time, I will see you soon.